#Rising Artists, a series where we introduce you to brand new artists. Who knows? They might end up on your playlist. I'm your host, Taylor Warren. Let's get started, shall we?
I'm just like a musician, I guess, like a guy from Connecticut, New York City area. I'm French American and Italian as well. Went to a French school in New York, for high school, University of Chicago for college. And I was like an econ major, I was like, oh, I'm going to be a consultant or a banker or something like all my friends are now. But I also had this like creative side to me that was like kind of hidden, that was mostly to myself. I mean, I had a friend last week that I reconnected with for like the first time in ever, and he came up to me and was like, who would have known, like who would have guessed that you would be an artist now? But that's the thing, it's like I guess I had for so long this like secret passion for art and music, and when it got time to face the question of who I want to be in college, like, am I going to be this like consultant, this banker? I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do what I want to do, which is make music. And I had this project, the album essentially that is out now, Project Dreams. I was working on it on my own for my own self, and I was like, why not just keep going with this? My friends like it. I think I like what I'm doing so far. I feel like way more satisfied than I had ever been in any of my internships. I've worked in DC in politics. I've worked in New York in marketing. I've worked in Chicago in finance, like LA and Hollywood. Doing this is like, I'm so happy, like that's like what I wanted to do when I was going into my senior year of college. And I was like, well, what am I going to do? Why don't I just do what makes me happy? So yeah, and so I made this album, Project Dreams, and it's kind of about that transition from childhood to adulthood and turning into who you want to be. And it's about me kind of coming into myself as this person that's like an artist, right? Like that's,
Yeah.
Now I'm Arthur the Artiste. That's like who I've become since that growth.
So I'm glad you mentioned all that. Holy crap, that's a lot that you've gone through and traveled so many places.
Yeah.
Now you mentioned your name being Arthur the Artiste. Where did the Artiste came from? Or the choice of idea of having that being your stage name?
I had a TikTok. So it was my friend. This was like really recent. I started off like as my real name, Arthur Forcione. Then I was like starting to get people that didn't know me comment on my Instagram and stuff. And like, I was just like, maybe I was also a theater major. So the whole idea of building a character got really enticing to me. So we had this party in Chicago in May this year that my friend invited us to. And she was like, you have to come in dressed as the first letter of your first name. Like any sort of like a theme essentially.
Okay.
Right? And then she did a TikTok and she was like filming everyone for a couple seconds. And I was like, she gave me like last minute notice and I was like, what could I possibly be? And then I was like, Arthur the artist. I was just Arthur the Artist in the TikTok. But then the TikTok went viral. It got like 500,000 views. And then I was like, whoa.
I think I might actually know this video. Now that you're talking about it, I'm like, I think I may actually have seen this. And I'm so tempted to look at my phone to check for it.
I mean, I could send it to you as well. It was like, no one expected it to like go viral or anything. I guess maybe she planned it a lot, but everyone just came in as different things. One of my friends was Poker Pete. She was Antibody Arushi. And I just came up with Arthur the Artist, which I felt was like lame. But everyone in the comments was like, oh my God, go Arthur. So I was like, cool. I like this name. And then some of my friends were telling me, like, maybe you should do something like that with your artist name. Because I was always asking, like, what should my artist name be? Like, it's hard for someone to come up with a name on their own. And then I was like, kind of as a joke, I was like, I corrected the TikTok on my Instagram. I was like Arthur the Artiste, because I'm French too. So, and I like doing Franglish kind of play on words. And so I just on my story took my little snippet of the TikTok and added an E with an asterisk, and there she goes. That was the birth of the name. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm thinking back on like I remember that trend being really popular at the time. And I think I believe it was your video that I've seen. So that's awesome that I have now a new connection through TikTok. Woo! I'm excited.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah.
So let's go a little bit backwards for a minute. Now you have this whole new album out, Project Dreams. How are you feeling about it being out in the public, out in the air for people to hear?
I'm like so excited, and in a way it's so like it's become so normal. It feels like it feels like I've had this thing cooking up for so long. Like I literally started writing some of the songs in like 2018, right? It came out in 2021. And I've been telling people and showing my friends and family like earlier versions of the song. So, but it's nice to finally have it out, because I was sitting on it for so long, or like making tweaks. I probably should have released it a long time ago, but I'm also like, I'm kind of a shy person. So it was tough for me to be like, okay, now I'm going to show everyone, like everyone's going to be able to see this. Anyone who Googles me for the rest of my life, or my ex-bosses, people that I've lost contact with, they're all going to be able to see this and judge me and be like, because yeah, your friends are going to be like, oh, I like it. But then there's always people, even like my favorite artists get hate on, especially the big ones. Yeah. So I'm like, okay, I'm opening myself up to so much like judgment. And as a person that's introverted and shy and was so scared of all that for so long, it's so weird to think about that now. I'm just kind of like, it's normal for me. I'm just like, yeah, put it out, and now I got other stuff ready to go, and I'm just kind of like not nervous at all about that kind of stuff. So, but it's fun. I think it's really cool, and it's very different from what I expected I was going to turn out to be, and what like my current friends are doing. So they think it's cool too. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad that you're actually overcoming this fear of being able to release this new album, because this album is fantastic. It's beautiful. Instantly, my mind went straight to like a James Taylor album, which hits me in the heartstring, because like James Taylor is one of my favorite artists. So to hear that kind of remnants of that, and then there's like a mixture of like Bob Dylan, and I heard, actually, honestly, your voice instantly reminded me of Vance Joy. So that got me excited to hear the rest of the album. So I cannot wait for everyone who's watching this and listening to this to be able to go and see your whole new album. So I am curious, because there's a couple tracks in there that kind of threw me for a fun loop. So I'm curious to know your point of view on the process of it. The one in particular, I actually have to pop onto my Spotify real quick. It is what is the song? Oh yeah, Goodbye Future Stranger. I'm curious to know the process of that song, because it's not like the previous songs in that playlist. It has some weird elements, and I want to know how that song came to be.
So the way I was writing this album, like I said, it started in 2018, but it really felt like every time I was writing a new song, it was at a very emotional moment for me, where I was feeling overwhelmed, overwhelmed, and it felt like music, like writing down my thoughts and music and just building a song was like my way to like process what was going on. And Goodbye. So I don't write like songs every day. I write song whenever I feel like I'm in that really almost like just anxious, or just there's a world of emotions. I feel like I have to capture it. And Goodbye Future Stranger was one of the last songs I wrote. And so I had already kind of like with every song, I feel like my skills develop. So when I got to Goodbye Future Stranger, I was also in a very folk minded mood. I wrote it originally as like a pure acoustic guitar folk song, but only the lyrics were used in the final version. It was like a totally different key, totally different chord progression, like timing wise. But what happened was I had the songs on the album, and I was figuring out how to sequence it and what the story to tell was. And I really liked Goodbye Future Stranger as that like atonement phase of the album, like the turning, not the turning point, but like the tone, like the goodbye, I'm over
Yeah.
it type stuff, like that stage, which is I think an important stage in the storytelling. So I was like, I have to figure out how to make this song, but I don't like how I like the lyrics, but I don't like how I did the instrumentation and the arrangement and all that. And so one of my friends, he has a brother in Italy who's, he was a soccer player, or like he was trying to be a soccer player, like a youth academy product, but it's a really hard, tough business to break into, pro soccer in Italy. So
Yeah.
so
Just
he
a
was
bit, just a bit.
yeah, just a tiny bit, but he's really good. Like we would win, like when he played pickup with us, we'd win all the time. But so he was I guess he was just looking at other options in his life, and he was starting to DJ or like be an EDM producer.
Okay.
So totally very different skill set. And so my friend put us in touch and was like, hey, you guys should collaborate. And I hadn't released anything at the time, so he had no reference of what I was like. But so he was like, okay, like we played soccer together, like he's my friend's brother. Okay. And so
Yeah.
he gave me a couple beats and EDM beats, and he gave me the Goodbye Future Stranger, like a Goodbye Future Stranger kind of beat, like EDM thing. And I gave like a first pass at it with totally new lyrics. It was a song called like Stay. And actually the end of the song was like Stay With Me Tonight is from that original first pass
Oh,
at it. And I
okay.
just kept it in. But so I I sent it to them and they were like, you could do better. I was like, okay. But they were right. So they pushed me. And then I was like, well, I have this song, Goodbye Future Stranger. Instead of trying to force a new song, I have a song that I don't know what to do with. Why don't I try and make the lyrics work? And so then I just kind of reworked the lyrics so that they fit with the beat. I added the acoustic guitars to make it more like a song that I would write. And then mix them together, like the EDM and the acoustic guitars, and and yeah, then you got Goodbye Future Stranger, and yeah, it's really modeled after Hey Brother by Avicii.
Oh,
That's
okay,
like the
okay.
reference song I used a lot because I love that mix of bluegrass and EDM, and that was like the true album by Avicii was one of my favorite albums growing up. Like Wake Me Up, Hey Brother, Liar Liar, Dear Boy. Like they're all amazing, and I love when people mix two different genres that you would think like, oh, these are incompatible, and he did it successfully, and those songs were club bangers and they were like at the top of the chart. So I was like, this is the roadmap. Let me look at what Avicii did and try and do my version of Avicii as a tribute to him.
Wow. Definitely out of pretty much the whole album, that one was the one for me that was like, ooh, I really like how this flows. It's interesting. It's not something like you said, you're putting that two contrasts of the different elements with the EDM in there. I do like that the whole aspect of it, and it feels cool. It's definitely a lot different from the songs in your album. I am curious, you I'm reading the notes over here. I've noticed that says on there that you produced the whole album. How was the process of doing this by yourself and putting this all together?
It was like weird because I had written the songs pretty much before I started producing. So I had no knowledge of producing, but I had written all the songs. So it gave me kind of like an ability to take a step back, almost like a year after I wrote the songs, like take a step back and see them with a fresh eye. And it was in the middle of the pandemic, right? Like when the pandemic hit, I moved back from Chicago to New York, and that gave me, and like everyone was in lockdown, everyone, like
Yeah.
I couldn't see my friends, it was tough. But it also had like I had all the time in the world, and I was like, well, why don't I, instead of not wasting, but instead of spending $600 per song to get it produced, why don't I learn how to produce? I have all this time on my hands. And so I just built
this home studio type thing. And then I would literally watch, I'm kind of an obsessive person when it comes to like learning new skills and getting good at things. And I would stay up till like 4 a.m. every night watching YouTube tutorials. YouTube University is what I tell people. On how to mix and how to produce and tips. And I learned on Logic Pro X how to make things. And then when Universal Audio came out with Luna, which was brand new, I was like, oh, this is an opportunity to use a whole new software that no one's really using. And it was so fun, like to just spend my time all day just producing the songs and learning how to produce. And that gave me the ability to kind of venture into genres and elements that you can't with just an acoustic guitar and a vocal, right? Like as a singer-songwriter, that's how I started. But then I was like, my favorite artists are Kanye, Avicii, Kid Cudi, Billie Eilish, Taylor Swift, Ed Sheeran, all these people that have a lot of electronic pop elements to them. I was like, how do I make my songs sound old and new at the same time? And the production was the ability for me to infuse all these new elements, whether it's like vocoders or 808s and stuff like that, to try and differentiate myself within the singer-songwriter genre. So yeah, that was fun.
Which is just adding to the whole idea of Arthur the Artiste here, with just that combination of all the skills that you're doing. Like, oh my gosh, I am just now starting this whole interview process and learning how to do the audio. So I definitely understand the struggles of doing it by yourself and learning the whole operation from start to finish, technically, for you. Mm-hmm. So I'm excited for everyone to hear this album. And of course, I'm going to have all the information in the article below, or in my details wise. Which movie would best describe your adolescence or kid period?
I would say, like, it's not a movie, but this is something that people in college would always ask me, because I grew up on the Upper East Side in New York. So they would always be like, oh my God, is your life like Gossip Girl? I was like, no. but I've watched the new one, and it's kind of, there's some similarities, you could say, like a lot of people going out when they're, not 21, going to bars and clubs and all these establishments in New York City. And it was just like, that's kind of like, yeah, that was kind of what my adolescence was like, private school in the Upper East Side. Gossip Girl, I guess, is the best.
Now, did you go to these clubs too?
Sometimes, but I wasn't one of those bad boys yet. in high school. Yeah, I mean, it was but it was still like a lot of parties and apartment parties and rooftop parties, and people would go to the clubs, but they would like, I think it was a little bit exaggerated. It was mostly posturing of like, oh, and this was kind of before Instagram got big, so I imagine it's worse now, but it was mostly, I think it's mostly just people being like, oh, I went to, the Kiss and Fly at the time, and then it was like, oh, you're so cool. That was mostly what like high school was like, or middle school even.
Yeah. Actually, probably so far the best one so far. Anytime I ask somebody that. Ooh, let's see. When was the last time you surprised yourself?
I'd say like when I was making the album, I was very surprised by some of the like things. I mean, some of the production things that were going on. And what I mean by that is the way production works, or a lot of these music making programs work, is you put up all these like effects, but sometimes they're automated, or there's like these presets. And it was crazy. It was like so cool to me to see how like I would just put a random chord progression on a piano, and then I would start tweaking with like a vocoder on the piano, and it would come out like totally different because there's all of a sudden there's like an arpeggiated version of it that's like totally changing what I intended it to sound like. For example, on Goodbye Future Stranger, in the drop part, I guess, where there's no vocal and it's like at the climax, there's like a very kind of high pitched synthesizer that's kind of playing.
Yeah, I
And
remember that part.
yeah, and all I did was I just put the piano part that my friend gave me, and I put it in a vocoder, and it like totally changed it. And I was like, I like that. That's cool. Surprise. It was stuff like that. Where and I have a song that I'm working on right now for my next project that has like a very similar thing where I just kind of let the effects take the wheel in a way, and until I was like, oh wow, I like this. And it's not like, people probably don't understand kind of how it works. They probably think like, oh, he's designing all this, but in a way it's kind of like the computer has a lot more control than people realize.
Yeah, that's awesome though. It's always fun to find out new information and just be able to be all of a sudden, wow, I didn't know I can do that. It's so cool.
Yeah.
Here, we'll do one last one. If you were to press shuffle on your music library or your phone, your playlist right now, what would be the first song that would pop up?
Shuffle?
Yes, if you were just to hit shuffle, push play on Spotify, what would be the first?
I like the shuffle idea because I have so many different tastes in music, and people think it's weird, but I like everything except metal. But I mean, literally everything, like classical music, musicals, some jazz, there's everything. And so if I were to press shuffle, do you want me to try?
You know what? I haven't had a guest do that yet, so if you want to, go for it.
This could be fun.
It's gonna be fun. Yeah.
Like songs. Something there.
Wait, what?
Beauty and the Beast.
Ooh.
I knew it. I told you. Musicals.
I would not expect that. Oh wow.
Yeah. I mean, it could have been anything. It could have been Young Thug. It could have I just like everything. And
Wow.
It's not like I like everything. The way I try and describe it is I'm like a very open-minded person. So I see a lot of like, if something's good, I usually believe it's good for a reason, or popular is popular for a reason, and people are connecting to something, and I try and find what that is. And usually, I just I'm like, yeah, this is a great trap song. For example, Travis Scott is amazing because he's so cool, and that's what people I think really like about him, is his music's cool. Or Kanye's great because he's weird and stuff like that. And everyone has like these different things that they embody in their music, and I think I just recognize that. So musicals are great too. They usually have great singers.
They do. I haven't found a musical where I didn't like it at all. But my gosh, what a playlist too. I mean, I love the variety that you have, and that variety does show in your album right now that is available everywhere. But I want to know, where can we find you?
You could find me on almost all major like social medias under Arthur the Artiste. My main one is Instagram. That's where I spend most of my time, and that's the one I'm kind of focusing on to grow right now. But I'm on YouTube, I'm on TikTok. My music is on pretty much everything, I think, just because like the distributor is able to even get it into China. I think that's pretty cool. Like, it's on Tencent, Alibaba, and
We're gonna find it on Wish later.
Yeah. Yeah. Or you can find me at my website as well. My website has a lot of cool stuff, and I'm about to release a bunch of merchandise. So it's arthurtheartiste.com, www.arthurtheartiste.com. And so it's gonna be, that's where you can find like all my music's there, and my bio, videos, everything's there.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Arthur, for being on this whole interview and this whole experience. And I cannot wait for you to just blow up just like the viral video that started the whole thing in terms
Yeah.
of.
Stop